That's our starting signal.
That's what I was
Call the roll,
thinking.
please.
Mrs. Cruzen.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. McDonald. Mrs. McFerrin.
Here.
Mr. Safka.
Here.
Mrs. Whitney, would you like to introduce them, or are they going to?
Sure, so they're going to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Matt. Matthew Bird.
This is Matt Bird, and
Hi, my name is Nathan Bird.
what do you guys like about school?
When I need help, I ask the teachers for help and they help me. One thing I like about school is teachers interact with us.
I did not pay them to say that.
And they're great basketball players, too, I'll tell you that.
Very good.
They
Okay.
are.
So you guys want to lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I want to welcome everyone to our December regular board meeting. Just so you know, when we get to the demonstration in the computer lab on gizmos,
I have it set up in my room. Is that okay?
that's fine. And what we're going to do, if you don't mind, we're going to use your room to finish our meeting and everything, if that's fine.
Okay.
So, okay.
We have no changes to the agenda.
Okay.
And
So at this time, we're going to move over to the computer lab.
Last year at the science teacher leader meeting, it became very apparent to me that the different tests that the kids were going to be required to take this year were going to really require some different practice for those tests. And the one thing that is the most different is the fact that they're being taken online. And there's a lot of manipulations and things that kids need to learn how to do before they can even begin to answer the question. So at that time, and I think it was one of the county consultants mentioned this Explore Learning Gizmo Labs. So I'm good friends with one of the biology teachers at Austintown Fitch, and she had learned about them before, and she tried to get them to purchase them for, her students. But Austintown Fitch is an enormous school, and the cost of it, they just weren't willing to pay for it. But anyway, so I kind of looked at it, and I talked with Amy Seabest, because she usually goes to the meetings with me. And we looked at you have a month's free trial, and right away we saw how similar some of these simulations were to the performance-based assessments that the kids would be taking. So the other thing that was real apparent to us is that there is no way possible for us to be able to afford some of the equipment that these require. And you'll see in a second, Reagan's going to show you a vacuum tube. And let me just say this, while I was waiting around for this meeting to start today, I really quickly went through, I think I've done 8 labs so far this year since we've had this. And I just went through and calculated how much the equipment would cost if we were to purchase the equipment to do the same labs, in a physical way. And I came up with $805 just for that equipment for those 8 labs. We've just started this year, obviously, so I have a lot of labs to work on. Labs are organized kind of the same way. There's prior knowledge questions first, where kids go through and kind of pull some stuff that they've learned before. Then there's a gizmo warm-up, which is awesome because that gets the kids used to that particular simulation. Every simulation is different. They come with different types of graphs. They come with different types of motions. And just different things that you have to do to get that lab rolling. So there's a little practice session. And then there's between 1 and 3 activities. Most of the activities are inquiry-based. Well, all of the activities are inquiry-based. Kids are asked to state their hypotheses, so they take some guesses on what they see is going to, or think is going to happen. Then they go ahead and do the simulation, collect their data, analyze that data and see how well, their answers match up with what they thought was going to happen. So, they can either say, I knew what was going to happen already, or maybe I didn't know, but now I do. So they can learn through that inquiry process. Then when it's all finished, there's a quick 5-question quiz that does a really nice job of summarizing what they needed to pull out of the labs that they did. And it's really awesome because they're computer scored and the scores are sent right to me. So that's about it. Do you guys want to show them? This is our fan part physics lab that we did, and I'll let them take it away from here. Oh, this is Destiny Green and Reagan Zebernick. Did I say that? Okay. There's another one right there. Yep.
So we were learning about Newton's laws and how force is equal to mass and times acceleration. So we wanted to know how they affected each other. So go ahead. You can add mass blocks up to 1 to 3, or just none at all, and then add fans, and then push play, and see the acceleration over time. So that gives you the velocity, the acceleration, and the time. And
So Reagan, we hit the other graphs real quick just so they can see.
Hit play again.
Yep. One of the things that we do in physics quite a bit is we relate graphs to, algebraic equations, and we know, how different graphs kind of show us the motion of things. So that's that way. And there's also bar charts. So there's all different types of information that you can get from these: the velocity time graph, acceleration time graphs, distance time graphs.
So then you change it up, and you can add more fans, take away masses. You can even make the fans repel each other, so it adds more mass, but then the forces of the fans going in opposite directions cancel out, so that even has a different acceleration. And you get to compare that to see. I think actually one of the things we did in here was see how much the fan's mass is, just simply by doing that. And that's something that would have a lot of error if we did it here, but there they give us the measurements and we work off of that.
That's one thing that's frustrating for kids. I've taught physics for a long time, and sometimes, with the equipment that we have, the labs don't always work out correctly. And the kids learn really fast when they do their problems and they arrive at an answer. Wait a minute, we have a guy who's running 99 meters per second. That doesn't make sense. But sometimes in lab situations, with the equipment that we have, sometimes we get these crazy answers and we have a 132% error. And these are not so far away from real world that they're always just completely perfect. There is some error that works into it and they can still calculate that. But that frustration with trying to get it to work out right because you're not getting the right answer, that kind of goes away. And so the task at hand is more evident rather than you being frustrated about not having the right things in front of you.
The graph even helps a lot too, because when we graph things, you could have the right information, but graph it just a little bit wrong and it throws everything off, whereas here they have it for you. So you can make sure that what you know about that graph is right.
Did you want to show them the other one real quick, the free fall tube? This tube, a vacuum tube, where you can switch from air to dense air to no air whatsoever, was $175 just for that tube, just to do one lab. So go ahead and show them how we did that.
On this one, you can change the item, and then you can change the height and the atmosphere, which here we would have no way to change the atmosphere. There's one with no air, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have this. And then you can hit play, and you can see how much time it would take.
And then show the difference with the dense air.
And then we did like all the different atmospheres, and we saw the differences between them so that we can compare them. And then there's also a graph for this one. And it showed us the relation between height, velocity, and acceleration.
And it's nice too, sometimes it'll graph things for you and you can figure out the numerical value, or you can check the box that says to show numerical value so you can check yourself. A lot of these labs, that's one thing that they can do, is they calculate things and then you can hit a check box and then you can go ahead and check your answers and see how well you did with that. So that's, you know, a confidence booster with the kids too. So they have a chance to make some errors and then figure out what they did wrong and, you know, fix things from there before they take the little assessment at the end.
And then the assessment is just like right below it, so all we had to do is scroll down and then we can answer the questions.
And they get immediate feedback. They tell you, you know, which ones you missed, what your answer was, what the correct answer should have been, so you can, you know, learn from your mistakes as well. Any questions on anything? I feel like I tried to cover as much, but I wasn't sure what you'd want to know, but I'm, you know, happy to answer anything. Okay. Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Now we're good. That's it.
Ready?
Okay, motion to accept the minutes and the treasurer's financial report.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Okay, item 5 is to accept donation from the Sebring Athletic Boosters. We have $765 for the girls' basketball program, $1,785 for boys' basketball.
Second. Discussion? Call the roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
And Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Item 6, motion to enter the minutes along with attachments of the Record Commission meeting into the exhibit file of the board.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Everybody got their copies? Call the roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
7, motion to approve the resignation of Joyce Rabb effective May 28, 2015.
Second. Discussion? Do we know how long she's been here?
20 years.
20?
I just did something that will make 20 years for her.
I'm thinking it's between 16 and 17.
Oh, is it? And somebody had said she checked with
I was gonna
state
say,
teacher
because
retirement, and they thought she had 20 years, but I'm not positive. You know, that's...
Especially because back in 99, I think I applied for the school nurse's job.
I think, I'm pretty sure I looked it up for STRS, and it's between 16 and 17 years.
Is there a way we can open the door? I think people are trying, they're not sure if the,
Yeah.
is there a way it props open or something? Being a meeting, we should probably have the door.
Take a stool or something and prop it open.
Yeah, have a chair, maybe. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's...
You tried to hide from me, Don.
And that may not...
You found us.
Yeah. And then that was just for BL, so it may have been that she was at the high school at the time or something like that.
I can double check her. She was at the nurse we had. She was hired, I believe, when Melanie Stelz, who was our nurse before, left and took a job at Tony.
Yeah, that's what I have to get. So, okay.
So,
All right, call the roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Item 8, motion to enter into the agreement with the Mahoney County ESC to provide services for opportunities of Ohioans with disabilities.
Motion?
Second. Discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
9, motion to grant a 1-year limited contract for the 14-15 school year at the current sub-salary rate for Ida Gorman.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
10, motion to grant a 1-year supplemental contract for the 14-15 school year at the current schedule for Jared Bailey, 7th grade girls basketball coach.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? Call the roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
11, motion to approve Edward Householder as a volunteer for the boys basketball program for 8th grade for the 14-15 school year.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion? Is he certified coaching?
He did go through the process, yes.
Just-
And this is just for volunteer.
Call the roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Okay. 12, comments from SLEA.
Right here.
Before we move on to public, do we want to discuss the next board meeting?
Yes. Organizational meeting needs to take place before the 15th of January. Our regularly scheduled board meeting is for the 19th, I believe, which is the third Monday, which is a holiday. If we move the regular board meeting back to the 12th, we could do both the organizational meeting and the regular board meeting on the same night.
Makes sense.
Somebody want to make a motion that we change it to the 12th? Need that?
Yeah, I don't know that we need
As
it.
long as we let the,
Announce it.
yeah, just make sure.
Yeah, it'll be in the
Announce to the
newspaper.
public. Yeah.
Okay. 13, comments from the public? Nope. Okay. And then 14 is to go into executive session.
And just so the media and everyone knows, there will probably be some business when we come out of executive sessions to be tended to, so.
Motion?
Call the roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
When we come out, we're just going to be over here.
Yeah, we'll be back in there.
Cafeteria.
Couple of items at the end.
Oh, did you want to do the worthy, noteworthy before we?
I thought it was just a donation.
No,
No,
this
there's
is
no
the
words.
students of Switzerland.
And the mission
Yeah, you put
statement.
some down there. Reagan, okay, items worthy. We have Reagan Zepernick and George Clark were selected as the Elks Teenagers of the Month for December. And then at the last meeting, we shared the new mission policy, and that should have been given to all of you to put in the binders.
Yes.
The application for the treasurers.
Yeah.
Is it too late
You
to
got 'em.
answer your question?
Should have you three.
Should have got 3.
Three copies. You have two, Nancy? Right. I have.
Is it too late for me to ask this question?
Together.
No, certainly.
Is there a difference between the role of a volunteer for a coaching position versus an assistant coach? Is there stipulations on what they are allowed to do and aren't allowed?
One, two.
Yeah, two kids. Okay. They're the only ones that ask.
Anybody else?
Because you just specified that.
Volunteer, non-paid.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was a difference in the role that they're allowed to play.
Don't, is, do you know?
I'm sorry, that's all.
If there's a difference in the role that a volunteer for the
Since he's a
for the
volunteer
coaching
coach.
position can play versus an actual coach. If there's a difference in the role that they're allowed to play. I just wondered that.
Can they do disciplinary things?
I wouldn't think so, no.
I don't think they can do any
Just the coach.
disciplinary or anything like
Yeah,
that. They're
because
just there to assist the coach. Yeah.
So the head coach should be in charge.
Should be.
They should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're not, let us know.
Okay.
We will
Oh, we will.
Okay.
Thanks for the vote, Linda.
You're welcome.